Kathleen Edwards in the Bing Lounge. I wasn't sure at first if you were saying moving to a miracle or moving to America on that song.
It's kind of the same thing, isn't it, right?
I think so. I thought they were a little bit interchangeable. I wanted to find out a little bit about you, Kathleen, and how you got started in music. And it does seem that Canada is a different country in so many ways. The kind of music that influences you. There on the East Coast, you have a certain kind of a music that's going on, very distinct, and of Canada, the East Coast of Canada. I mean, what were your influences? Were you coming from a musical family, or how did that begin for you?
Yeah, actually, I did come from a pretty musical family. My dad wanted to be Gordon Lightfoot when he was in college. And maybe a little bit, he kind of wanted to have the sex life of Leonard Cohen, but like the musical credibility of Gordon Lightfoot. And my mom was a music teacher. She grew up studying piano and went to college, went to university to become a music teacher. And both my parents actually met singing in a choral group in my hometown of Ottawa. And my mom apparently had a thing for the choir director who turned out to be gay, which really worked in my dad's favor. So she settled for my dad.
This is a great story.
Yeah. And I grew up playing classical violin. My brother took piano. We used to go up to northern Ontario to our little family cottage and sing songs around the campfire. And I had a really big thing for the musical Cats for about 8 years of my life. And that's not a cool thing, I don't think. It's kind of cool. I know every word to that musical. I don't know. We just kind of grew up like music was part of every day.
And when did you start knowing, that it's going to be Kathleen Edwards moving into her own thing and being, I guess sometimes we call them Canadian songbirds, the wonderful women that have descended, here that we've gotten to know, the Sarahs, the Jonies, there's so many names that have come before you.
Yeah.
But when did you start going, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to make music and write songs?
I kind of just wanted to, when I was done high school, I just really wanted to make friends in my town that were doing what I wanted to do, which is like go and play shows in bars, and work on songs. And actually Jim Bryson, who's here in the LA Dodgers hat, he was one of the first people I actually ended up having a real musical chemistry with in my whole life, and we're still fighting. And so it kind of started in my hometown in a really organic way. And I remember that, I met my first bass player on like the community radio, singers looking for so and so to play in a band inspired by this, and he was my bass player for years and years, and the three of us kind of played a lot of shows together, and it just started really organically. And my heroes are people like obviously like Neil Young and the great songwriters of the 20th century, and they are incredible. They're an incredible root system to sort of guide your own, to float your own boat on, but it really does come down to the people that you surround yourself with, and they are the ones that are the most important to keep you sort of going and supporting you in ways that are challenging and interesting.
It's really cool how you can sort of, get to know somebody just out of serendipity, and then they become the anchors, sort of, and they do float the boat,
Yeah.
It seems like to make it in Canada, you do have to come to America eventually. Is that still a hard thing? Because I know there's that whole thing about, playing percentage of music on the radio there. Is that still happening where you have to sort of, it's Canada-centric, but you do want to get down here and make yourself known, right?
Yeah, well, it might surprise most Americans to know that Canadian radio, other than the CBC, which is our public radio, is horrible. And I have no problem saying that because we basically have been purchased. All these radio stations have been purchased, and they have to play a quota of Canadian content, but it's really not representative of what's going on in Canadian music and who's touring in America. And unfortunately, we're getting more and more of the Virgin Radio thing. And, it doesn't support regional and community trends and bands that are really making a go of it or trying to make a go of it in the country. So like this style of this format of radio is so important to artists like myself. And I'm one of thousands of people, actually making a living playing music. It's pretty small, but it's, you know, something. And in Canada, we don't really have that. So we do have to come to the United States. You know, one of my first stories was in 2003, I put out a record, my first record called Failure, and I'm on Rounder Records. And the record came out 6 months earlier in Canada. And the phone was not ringing. No, I didn't get any press in Canada. There are a few exceptions, of course. And then I got booked on the David Letterman show, and boy, did the phone start ringing in Canada, you know. And it's good to remind people of that because, you know, I'm grateful for the opportunity no matter what. But it's always good to remember, like, you know, what about all the other Canadian artists who didn't get to play the Letterman show? Let's give them a voice too.
And now there's a new album and a tour, and we're getting to know you even better. It's a very, very distinctive kind of music that I can tell from all the instruments that you have on the stage, little violin that you're setting up. It's great to have you in Portland. Kathleen Edwards in the Bing Lounge.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.